All right. Hey guys, my name is Tim and this is Captain Jack. He's about 15 years old and I got him about a month ago from a rescue. And man, I tell you, he was just as mean as a hornet. He was lunging and biting and just, I really questioned whether or not he was going to tame down. He was so aggressive, just snapping at everybody, lunging at them when they came by the cage, the whole deal. Anyway, I've had him about a month. He's super tame, super sweet. I shared a post online showing how much he'd tamed down in 1 month, and people began asking for some advice. I am by no means an expert at all. I've been working with birds for about 10 years, and when I got my very first bird, there was a lady that I adopted from, and she actually shared some very useful tips with me on how to bond and tame birds. I actually at the time thought they were just common knowledge, just 101 with birds. But over the last 10 years, I've learned that maybe it's not such common knowledge, that some of those tips that I received are actually not so well known. But they have worked, been very effective for me over the last 10 years, so I wanted to share some of those with you guys just to give you a start. But I'm not by any means an expert, so please don't be critical. And you know, it's worked for me, it might work for you, maybe it won't. But I have worked with small birds and large birds, everything from little lovebirds all the way up to big macaws. These tips and techniques have worked regardless of the size of the bird. I have never not had a bird tamed down using these techniques. Only the length of time varies. Sometimes it takes, sometimes it takes a couple weeks. I think the shortest time I've tamed a bird has been a week, and sometimes it takes a couple months. But it always works. And so anyway, just a couple tips to kind of give you guys some pointers to get started with when it comes to handling a bird and trying to get it to tame down. First thing you have to realize is that there is no such thing as a tame bird. Birds are not domesticated and they are not tame. And really, when we're talking about handling a bird and a bird being tame or docile, what we're really talking about is, does that bird trust you? You could have the most tame bird in the world, but and maybe you go and adopt it, and the people that have had the bird, they just love it and it's kissing on them and sitting on their shoulder. It doesn't change the fact that when you take that bird home, you're going to have a very different bird because it's not a domesticated animal. It trusts those people. It trusts that environment. As soon as you take it into anything new or around strangers, you're starting all over again. So be prepared for that. You're not going to get a bird as a stranger and it's going to immediately bond with you. Now, the only exception to that rule is that if you get a baby bird, one that's particularly been hand raised and hand fed, that bird kind of defies its own nature as a bird. They're very clingy, they're very accepting of people, even strangers. In my opinion, they're almost a little bit, they're so clingy, so accepting of people that they kind of defy the nature of what is a bird. Every bird, besides a hand-fed baby, they just don't like new things. They don't like new people. They don't like strangers. They don't like new environments. They don't like new toys. They don't like anything that they've not seen or touched before. And it takes time for them to warm up to it. So anyway, if you don't have a hand-raised baby and you have a typical bird, they're not domesticated. You're going to have to work with them and gain their trust. So here's how I do that. First thing, you have to understand that they are bullies. They really are. They're bullies. They bluff. Sometimes they mean it, sometimes they don't, but they are bullies. They bully one another. They will bully you if you allow them to. It's very important that if you want to bond with a bird, that you cannot allow them to bully you. You cannot allow them to manipulate you. And in doing that, you have to be very careful not to react. Whenever they lunge at you, whenever they bite at you, they're trying to get a desired reaction out of you. If you give them that reaction, they will keep doing it. You have to give them no reaction, and certainly not the reaction they want, and they'll realize that it's not working, right? And they'll give up. So, first things first, you get a bird, you bring it home, he won't step up, he bites at you every time you try to get near him, he lunges at you, and so what do, right? How do you tame a bird when you can't even touch it or get close to it? Here's the thing. Tip number one that I got that was really helpful for me is that you make a fist. You make a fist. Birds like to bite your fingers and such. They'll bite your wrists, but they bite the loose skin. They'll grab it and pinch it. Amazons in particular will bite and hang on. So what you do is you make a tight fist and present the back portion of your hand, not your fingers, but this skin is very tight right now. They cannot pinch it, they cannot bite it. So if I have a bird that I bring home, immediately I want to get in his space. Now, how do you build trust with a bird without overstressing it out? It's about short exercises. I'm going to interact with it for a couple minutes and I'm going to walk away, right? And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it again. And so you want to be frequent. Start right away when you get it into your home, but don't drag it out for an hour because you're really going to stress that bird out. It's all about short, lots of repetition. So again, you make a fist, present the back portion of your hand, and see if he's going to bite at you or is he going to lunge at you. What's he going to do, right? Now, ideally, he's going to do nothing and he's just going to step up on your wrist. But what you do is manipulate your hand while you're presenting it to his beak to see what he's going to do. Most birds will hit at your wrist trying to bluff you or scare you or maybe even bite you. But when they see that they can't get a hold of your skin, they'll eventually give up. Now, birds are smart, so you have to be careful because they will try to get around and get your finger or get your wrist. So you got to kind of manipulate your wrist to make sure that you're always presenting this tight skin that they can't get a hold of. So for example, Captain Jack here, if I didn't know him and I don't know what he's going to do to me, I would present my fist to him and see if I can get him to step up or what he's going to do. Now, I've already been working with him for a while, but usually a bird will hit at you, they might try to bite at your fingers, but this they cannot get a hold of, they cannot bite it. So, it lets them know that I'm not going to run from them. Whenever they hit and bite, don't react, don't jerk away, don't be afraid, let them hit you. If they do outsmart you and get a hold of your finger or get a hold of your wrist, it may hurt, but it's really important that you try not to have a reaction. They want you to be scared of them. They want you to pull away. They want you to go, ah! They want that reaction. Don't give it to them. You have to kind of stay composed and just roll with it. You are going to get bit handling birds. It happens even with tame birds. Some days they're just moody. Some days they have off days. They're going to get you occasionally, but hopefully you'll learn to read the signs. And usually even whenever they are moody at that point, they don't bite and to really hurt. They just kind of bite to let you know, I'm not in the mood today. So anyway, first things first, you put the fist out, let them get used to getting no reaction, hitting your hand. And at that point, they will eventually stop. And usually what they'll do is they'll get to a point that when they see your hand, they'll lean forward and just kind of put their beak up against your nose, almost kind of pushing your hand away. That's exactly great. That's just what you want, because what they're doing is they're stopping attacking, they're stopping biting, they're saying, I realize I can't make you go away. All right, so, and at that point, I'm going to move my hand around him and let him know that he can't make me leave. So, and then usually what I do is, at that point, some point, you want him to start stepping up, right? Never start with your hand. Get you a perch. It doesn't matter if it's a stick, it doesn't matter if it's a handmade perch, it doesn't matter what it is, it could be a broomstick, whatever. And of course the length is up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. If you have a bird you don't really trust, maybe you want one a little longer. My bird sometimes doesn't want to be picked up, sometimes he doesn't want to be messed with, and sometimes he will, even though he's pretty well tamed, he will say, I'm not stepping up, I don't want to be messed with. But I let him know that the stick doesn't take no for an answer. The stick, he can bite at the stick all he wants, he can lunge at, and the stick doesn't take no for an answer. So you hold the stick out to him instead of your fist, and he will push it away at first, he will bite at it, but eventually, if you don't give him any reaction and you don't take no for an answer, keep putting it under his belly and kind of pushing on him, he will learn that the stick will not take no for an answer, and they will begin 100% of the time stepping up. Now, you have to be careful whenever you're holding them. If they don't know you, they may try to reach over and bite your hand. That's when you want the longer stick. But birds always want to move upward. They never like to go down. They like to move up. So if I didn't want him to bite me, I would probably hold the stick up like this. And you see the first thing he did was take a step upward. They always want to move to the high point, right? So if you want to keep him away from your hand, keep the stick pointed up, right? Pretty simple. Now I can move him around to any room I want. I can get him off the top of his cage and put him in the cage. never actually using my hand. I can use the perch, but this is where you start. You show the fist. Once you've kind of gotten over that, use the perch, and eventually kind of get it where it's level, right? And then allow them to get closer to your hand. Now, what do you do when the bird is on a perch or on your hand and he tries to bite you? It's real simple. Whether it's on a perch or whether it's on your hand, if you're holding a bird, usually like this, what a bird is going to do is he's going to reach down and he's going to try to bite your thumb, right? Here's what you do. If a bird finally steps up on you, if he reaches down for my thumb, I'm going to roll my hand forward like this, just in a quick twitching motion. I'm just going to rock my hand forward. What that's going to do is it's going to knock him off balance, and he's going to step back to try to regain his balance, and he's going to abandon his campaign to reach forward and grab my thumb because he's going to try to lean back. Now, it's really important that you roll your hand forward because that will knock his balance backward. If you roll your hand backward, he's actually going to need to step forward to gain balance, and you will motivate him to actually bite and hang on to your thumb for balance. So you twitch your hand forward, causing him to step backward and leave your thumb alone. So anytime I see him going down for my thumb, I automatically just roll my hand forward. I twitch it forward. If he's on the perch and I see him coming from my hand and he's making me uncomfortable, I'm just going to roll the perch forward. I'm just twisting it, rolling it forward, knocking him off balance a little bit. Now what I'm doing is I'm teaching him cause and effect. I'm not punishing him. I'm teaching him when you do this, this is what happens. So when he reaches for my thumb, that's what happens. It's like a button. I'm teaching him that when you do that, this is what happens. And if he doesn't want that to happen, he'll stop. He'll actually stop doing that activity. Getting a bird to step up. A lot of people will tell you that you can take a treat. You can take a treat and lure them onto your hand to come get it, where they have to step onto your hand to get the treat. I've never had success with that. I'm sure that works for some people. For whatever reason, it's never worked for me. So, whenever I want them to step on my hand, I'm going to take my fist and try to get them to step up on my wrist. Of course, you want to come up under their belly to try to get them to step up. Now you can tell he doesn't like my wrist. It's too fat. It's not easy to hang on to. He wants to step up on something he can get a grip on and feel safe. So he usually likes my fingers. But when you set your fingers here, how do you know he's not going to want to bite your finger? Well, you have to watch. First off, you read the body language. If he is lunging at me, again, I'm going to make a fist so that way he can't get a hold of anything. If I'm going to make my fingers, I'm going to put it down low, right? But if he doesn't want to step forward, I'm going to put this hand over here and my perch here, and I'm going to push him this way. I'm just going to say, if you don't like this coming, this is your safe spot. And now I pushed him onto my hand. I didn't touch him, but he didn't know what this was. All he knows is this makes him nervous, and so I'm giving him an escape. He can escape by stepping on my hand, and now he's on my hand. And if he tries to reach down and bite me, I'm going to roll my hand and knock him off balance so he won't do that, right? Also, how do you get a bird to want to be on your hand, right? I have to teach him that my hand is a good thing. It's a good thing to be on my hand. So, for example, whenever he steps up on my hand like this, my hand is a good thing. Hey, my hand is a good thing because I'm rescuing, this hand is rescuing him from this that he doesn't like. This hand is rescuing. So, I might take my bird and put him on a perch and put him on the floor. Birds don't like being on the floor. They always feel vulnerable. So I'll put him on the floor with a stick, with a perch, just so this hand can come in and rescue him from the floor. So I'll put him on the floor, and then I'll come down with my hand and offer him my hand to step up onto, because again, they always want to step up, not down, and I'm rescuing him from the floor, right? So the hand becomes a good thing. I'm saving him from the floor. I may put him in the shower perch. They enjoy showers, but when they're done, you can tell they're done being in the water. They just want to get done. They want to get out. Again, If you want to be out of the shower, step onto the hand. The hand is rescuing them from something they don't like. So I will put him in situations with the stick that he doesn't necessarily want to be in, whether it's on the floor, maybe it's on a shower perch, whether it's whatever. But ultimately, I want him to know my hand is rescuing him from that situation. And again, it's a simple evolution from the fist, stepping up onto the wrist or the hand. Again, if he tries to bite, when he's on your hand, once he's on there, he's always going to go for the thumb or the skin on the wrist. Just rotate your hand in a quick twitch, and he will lose balance and stop. And again, be consistent. He has to know that when he pushes this button, it twitches. And he knows it's cause and effect. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to make that happen. If he does get a hold of you, that's the hard part. If he does get a hold of you, it's going to hurt. You're going to take your share of bites. I've had him for a month. And at the end of the day, I took my share of bites, but I try not to react ultimately. Don't use gloves. Again, they recognize the glove as an object. They don't recognize that your hand is part of that glove or inside the glove. Don't use the glove. If you can't handle being bitten by your bird occasionally, then you probably shouldn't own birds. They're going to bite you once in a while. So let's talk about how do you pet them and touch them. So come here, Captain Jack. Come here. Come here. See, now he's just kind of pushing me away with his beak. Him and I are friends, so he doesn't really bite me, but he is pushing me away. I'm going to tell him that it's not okay. I'm not going to take no for an answer. So again, I'm shooing him onto my hand. So now that I've got him on my hand, and he's not biting me, because if he does, I'm going to roll my hand, what do? Well, at this point, a lot of people will tell you to start touching the feet. I don't agree with that. If you watch birds around other birds, whenever they don't get along, a lot of times they will attack each other's feet. That's why you see so many birds with no toes or a missing toe or something. So I don't necessarily agree that you should always go for the feet as far as touching birds. To me, a lot of birds are uncomfortable having their feet touched right away. So what I do, come here, Jack. What I do when I'm holding him is I first start by just getting used to my thumb kind of accidentally resting on his toes. Again, I'm not touching his toes. I'm not stroking them. I'm just kind of accidentally his toes are being brushed against and kind of being held a little bit. Again, because if he wants to bite at that point, he's going to lunge forward to bite my thumb. And I just roll my hand, right? The other thing the next thing I do is I try to touch their beak. Because they're going to stretch their neck forward to try to bite my finger if they don't want me touching them. And it's usually a slow motion thing. I come in and I pet the beak, right? Just allow them to be touched and rubbed. Got to be careful. Take your time. Usually, the next step is where it gets most difficult, and that is touching their body. They don't really like things coming behind them, and your hand is going to be stroking them. It doesn't matter if it's their head or their back. It just makes them uncomfortable. So what I do, once I've got them on my hand, and they're not biting me, they're not bending down, I'm not having to twist my wrist, I just start bringing them close to my body. Just let them bring close to you. And if I'm standing up, he's right up against my body. If I'm sitting down, he's practically sitting on my stomach or sitting on my lap. If he tries to get up near my face, I don't let birds up by my face unless I know I can trust him. So I just kind of keep moving him from one hand to the other if he tries again to climb up. But I keep him close to the body. He gets used to feeling my body touching him. And usually what I'll do is, if I want to start touching him, I'll hold him close to my body and I'll begin walking around. Now, while I'm walking around, he's very distracted by everything going on in the room, and he doesn't know where I'm taking him to. He's very focused on his balance. And so while I'm walking around, I will slowly begin reaching my hand around while he's distracted on so many different things going on. And I'll begin taking my hand around, and I'll just begin putting my hand on his back. Start low, like down by his tail feathers where he can't reach you. Come here, Jack. And hold him up close to your body. And I start by just putting my hand back here and just resting my hand on his back. I'm not stroking him, I'm not petting him. In fact, what it begins to feel like to him, I believe, is that I'm steadying him against my body. He's being difficult right now. But I'm just holding him steady against my body, helping him in his pursuit of balance, basically. And then once you've got your hand on his back and he's no longer resisting you, you can begin to work your way up and touching the back of his neck. And I've never met a bird that doesn't like their head scratched. So, but you have to work your way up to that. So anyway, again, a progression. It's the fist, the wrist, the hand, get up close against the body, and then begin moving around with him, walking around with him, so that way he's got to focus on a lot of different things, and begin scooping your hand around, and start at the bottom where you can't get your hand, and work your way up. And again, don't stroke the back, just put your hand on the back, kind of pulling them close to your body and snuggling them. And eventually, you'll begin to realize, well, basically he just stops biting, and then you kind of become a lot more comfortable with him. But yeah, hello. But anyway, that whole flip of the wrist thing, it's a godsend. It's a lifesaver. It works. You cannot get a bird and wait for 3 weeks while he's getting used to his environment. Birds are very much routine, so immediately start working with them, again, in short repetitions. Continue to give them some space. A lot of times what I will do is just get used to their being in their presence. So even though I'm not necessarily touching him right away, I'll come and stand next to him and look out the window with him. Or maybe I'll sit in a chair and do some work or whatever I'm doing, but right next to him. And just getting used to me being next to him. Whenever he stops running away from you, then you're starting to win. And so, anyway, don't give up. You're going to take a bite once in a while. That doesn't mean it's not working. It's all part of it. Jack and I are buddies, but that doesn't mean he won't bite me. I mean, it's going to happen occasionally, but I'm going to deal with it. And I'm going to correct the behavior as it happens. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I hope some of this works for you guys. It has worked wonders for me. Little birds, actually their bites hurt worse than big birds. If you've ever had a macaw, they actually just kind of hit at your hand and jab at you rather than bite and pinch. Amazons are about the worst as far as I'm concerned. Little birds, they can get a hold of you. So anyway, a big bird is not necessarily something to be more fearful of. Sometimes it's the little birds. But anyway, they love treats. I give Jack treats all the time: peanuts, almonds, fruit, slices of apple, just anything to associate my hand with something good. And remember, put him in situations where he'll want to step up to be rescued, whether it's the shower, whether it's on the floor, whatever it may be. Put him in situations where he's going to want to be rescued. And I will tell you, if your bird, if they are flighted, good luck. Good luck. The problem with a flighted bird is that if they're flighted, how do you tame them? Because all they have to do is just fly away from you. And now you're chasing them around, and now you're a predator chasing them around your house. It's never going to work. It doesn't work for me. I do love flighted birds, but I'm going to trim the wings. Now, keep in mind, they're going to molt twice a year, so even if you trim them, within 6 months, they're going to grow back. You're not hurting them. There's no pain. There's no bleeding. It's none of that. It's a simple deal. You're just trimming the empty straw feathers. But if he can't fly away from me, then he's forced to interact with me. He's forced to get to know me, and he relies on me, because if he tries too hard to get away, he's going to glide onto the floor, and he's going to rely on me to rescue him from the floor. So if your bird is flighted, hey, great if you want it flighted, but while you're working with them, while you're bonding with them, while you're training with them, I encourage you, trim the feathers, give yourself a fighting chance to be able to interact with them. If you have more than one bird, separate them, work with them one-on-one. When birds are together, they tend to gang up on you and kind of bully you. So I separate them, work with them one at a time. yeah. So I think that's about it, actually. But work with them one at a time, and you'll make great strides with them. They actually bond pretty quickly, and they remember. So if you have a positive experience this time, you're only going to have to repeat most exercise with them a couple times, and they're going to get it. They're going to understand. Use the fist, use the perch. Shoo them onto your hand, rescue them from the floor, from the shower, whatever, and then get them close to the body. It's just an evolution of getting them close to being with you and interacting with you. So that's it. I hope this works for you folks. I hope that makes a difference. If you want a flighted bird, great. Just wait until after you've bonded with them, after they like you. I probably won't trim his wings long term, but it's pertinent that he can't just fly away from me right now. Not to mention, I don't want him banging into my windows and breaking his neck. I don't want him flying into my ceiling fans. And I don't want him flying out the door because somebody opened the door and walked in or walked out. So, and I love the perk of being able to take them outside, set them outside on a perch, and they can enjoy the outdoors without having to worry about being flying away. So, yeah, that's it. Let me know what you guys think. Appreciate it.